So you don't see this as being a job killer?
I'm in the Mark Andreessen camp, I would say. I say they'll be disruptive.
What does that mean? I look at capitalism as an insatiable, it's not going to care. It's going to be the Terminator. It's not going to care about your feelings. It won't show pity, whatever that speech was that Arnold Schwarzenegger had. It's going to be easy for them to
Yeah,
replace all
despite
these
that,
people.
we've hit a peak, right? LLM's progress has stalled. Each model, we're not getting 50% better. We're getting 5% better.
I mean, do we believe that? Do you
Oh
believe
yeah,
that?
I think so.
What makes us so special? And why isn't AI just simply going to replace us all? That's why I'm sitting down with educators, researchers, and practitioners to have an open and honest discussion about the human impact of AI. I'm Doug Atkinson, and join me for the Human Conversation. Evan Kirstel, thank you for being here for the Human Conversation.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be a human.
Well, this is a new series that we're creating at Inside Jam that is really designed to explore the impact of AI on the world of work, on the world of education, on the world in general, but really the impact on humans. And to start with, I mean, you're an amazing tech
Thank you.
influencer, and you are certainly in touch with what's happening across the sector. Where do you think we are right now with regard to kind of the hype cycle or the life cycle of this AI moment?
Well, we're in peak hype cycle for sure. And I'm all about hype. So I love hyping. I love hype. So I feel like I'm in my element. But I also think when you talk life cycle, it's early days. So I think there's a lot more ahead of us, thankfully, because as good as AI is, it's only getting better. It's only getting more interesting. There are only more really intriguing applications coming out. So I'm a big AI enthusiast, fan, proponent.
Yeah, it's funny. Being solutions review centric on our end, we certainly heard a lot about machine learning and all the other kind of artificial intelligence buzzwords prior to generative AI that kind of landed with ChatGPT 3 years ago. But there was certainly a lot of talk around how this was coming together, but now it seems like it's really crystallized, the idea of it being able to, I mean, for us anyway, when we saw that it could write by itself as kind of cogently as it could, really took us aback. We had never seen anything like it, and I was blown away when I first saw ChatGPT.
Yeah, blown away. Really struck me at 3.5, so not quite at the early adopter phase, but earlier than most. And I remember having it write my Christmas cards and little rhymes and poems, and people were blown away. They couldn't believe I was a poet. But fast forward, it has turned, very average, slightly below average, slow writers like me, someone with lots of ideas, love speaking and interacting, but just not a very prolific or proficient writer. I mean, like average, right? Into an amazing writer. And not because I'm having ChatGPT write every essay or blog post or LinkedIn article, but because I'm able to converse with it, talk to it, natural language, share my ideas, opinions, put them all down in natural language, and then have, a great, 60, 70, 80% blog finished. And I could do that daily in a matter of 10 minutes. So what became a very painful exercise in getting a blog post out with, just like struggling through as, an average writer, it's turned me into a well above average writer, and a lot of ideas that, I had, or points of view that I didn't necessarily have the time and energy to get onto the written word, into the written word, onto paper and virtual paper. And a slow typer, by the way, a bad typer. All of a sudden, those ideas get out there instantaneously. So that little anecdote is just one little example of how it's changed everything with the written word.
And that's where I think it started to trigger concern as well for me, because it could collaborate with me as if it was a colleague. I mean, and that's how I've used it extensively to think through ideas and to bring in concepts that I don't fully understand, that it does, at least it's fully ingested, and it has this kind of ability to synthesize ideas and then bring them into the idea stream that you're thinking about, and create a whole new it's like a collaborator that is aware of everything that you want it to be aware of whenever you want it to be aware of. And it's like, bring something in that I'm unfamiliar with, and it does instantaneously. So you don't have to wait for it to get back to you. You don't have to set a meeting and say, maybe we can get together tomorrow afternoon and have an hour-long chat about this idea I was thinking about. It's like, you can go and you can collab, and that's incredibly it's incredibly engaging and compelling, but it's also unnerving.
Yeah, it's unnerving for many. It's freedom for some, like myself. I mean, real writers, let's say the professionals, the journalists class, they would have editors who could review their work and edit and make suggestions and say, no, this is garbage, or have you thought about taking it in this direction? And really professional editors. And as a freelancer, I don't have an editor. Well, ChatGPT has become like the best editor in the world, and not just ChatGPT. Maybe I'll put it into Claude and give me some ideas for enhancing. Give me a fact check. Put it into Gemini and see what it comes up with for some tweaks, modification, sentence structure. Or maybe I'll put it a third time into ChatGPT. I'll get another editorial review just for accuracy and polish, maybe the header or the title. That's always a big thing now in social, right? A catchy, edgy, interesting hook or title. Hard to come up with, but you know, AI does an amazing job of that. And so, gosh, all of a sudden you have a professional editor, like you said, colleague. And then, by the way, for social media, you need something visually impactful, right? Because it's all about the clicks and the shares and the likes. And a lot of people don't read past the first paragraph, but you all of a sudden have a graphic designer who can turn
Yes.
that theme into an infographic or really catchy, eye-popping image with some copy. And unlike the early days of GPT, everything's spelled right, the words are correct, the syntax, the
It's amazing.
numbers perfect. From at least the last few months, it's been like perfect out of the gate. And then
Perfect.
you could play with the colors and talk to it and form something that generates, as a digital guy, you appreciate, so 10 times the engagement that just a blog post would have done. And again, I'm not a graphic designer. I have no talent as far as design, UI, X, but all of a sudden I'm impressed, like with the own images that have been
Oh,
created based on the copy.
yeah, no, I've been doing a series on LinkedIn in collaboration with Gemini, actually, and Gemini has Nano Banana Pro as part of it, and it does these excellent square, optimized graphical representations of the article, and I've done 3 of them now, and it's all and it's all about, and it's thinking about it. So Gemini is the Google LLM representation, and it's ultimately what's powering the AI answers that Google is presenting in their, search. And it's funny because I've been collaborating with it to talk about what the future of search is, because what is happening, from what I can tell anyway, is that Google is basically cannibalizing itself. It's like cash cow.
Mm.
It's basically taking the thing that it has monetized beyond, any, to become one of the, if not the world's, most valuable, one of the world's most valuable companies on the planet, SEO. I mean, it created this search engine optimization concept from, you know, early on when it started. posting ads and requiring organic or recognizing organic search as a value, and it's eliminating it. And so and it's helping me write out that scenario of how SEO is going to go away and this new thing, GEO, generative engine optimization, is going to take over. And it's fascinating because, I mean, honestly, it's you're asking the machine about what it's doing to itself. And it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life, that it's about to destroy its own single largest revenue source in exchange for what I'm sure the decision makers at Google believe is the next greatest revenue opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, it's a huge opportunity. Um, Even when it comes to the LLMs, if you haven't put your name or searched for your name into ChatGPT or Gemini or your brand or your company to see what comes out, you should be doing that. I was, surprised, a little bit shocked actually when I searched for myself and my work. It had more than I ever would have imagined. It had my pricing for various services I provide. It had reviews and comments from third parties. It had a complete 360 view of myself, which is Lart was positive, thank goodness. But also, you can imagine if you're a brand, the implications of that are enormous. And how did it get there? Well, I just generate large amount of content, long form content daily, and podcasts and live stream videos that go into Google and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and Reddit and X and LinkedIn, and it indexes much of that, and so it builds a picture of you. And I think that's what brands need to think about is really educational, high quality, innovative long form content in audio form, in written form and video form. And that's the new SEO. Just doing blogs for keywords these days is not sufficient.
Well, so talk a little bit about what companies should be thinking about as the world begins to evolve from, the kind of simplistic organic search, the search engine optimization, to this kind of larger citation economy where the LLMs are looking for these kind of reinforcing influential keys in order to figure out what it should be presenting as its synthesized answer. I mean, what should a tech company be thinking about with regard to kind of how it presents itself across all the social media points?
No, it's a great question. I think it's, again, not a surprise. Most companies are doing it, but many aren't. It's long form, highly credible, authoritative content with experts across different industries and topics and verticals. And it's then deploying that in many different ways, from third-party sites and to YouTube, of course, the biggest video engine the world has ever seen, which of course is Google. The number two search engine is YouTube behind Google. But not just stopping there. It's getting it into channels like Reddit and putting it on Quora, making sure it's LinkedIn live, full transcripts available. It's putting it on X in long form fashion. It's no longer just tweets anymore. It's getting it into, Instagram and Facebook. Billions of people are on these platforms, even if your topic is super targeted and niche, and on and on. Different communities, different forums, and letting the LLMs find it and index it. And that is, you doing that at scale is kind of now table stakes. It's not putting your webinar up behind a gated firewall or just posting, 3-sentence tweets or links to white papers. It's getting content that will get noticed. The joke is kind of, it's not what you know or who you know, it's what LLMs know you.
That's right.
So I think that's, again, not a really new concept in a lot of ways, but more critical than ever.
So what is the kind of secret sauce for getting views or clicks or attention to social media content? I mean, do you have some kind of kind of go-to techniques that you use, or are there kind of recommendations that you would give to a client that says if you lean in this way? I mean, is it kind of the way you deliver any one event, or is it kind of creating more of a long form series of events? I mean, how do you think about what
Yeah,
companies should be
I think
thinking?
there's no like one, silver bullet. If you want to write a blog, it'd be, 43 things you have to do to get seen on social media. And certainly for B2B, I'm not a B2C guy, so it's a B2B
Sure.
audience. It's really creating a cadence, sort of a flywheel kind of effect. So it's not just one and done posting on LinkedIn. It's, video, but also short form video, long form video, live streaming video. It's video plus really innovative, interesting, written content that's consumable, not too long, not too short. There is, I think, a sweet spot for content on the written word side. And then it's being multi-platforms. Too many brands are just on LinkedIn, or maybe they're on X, but they're leaving eyeballs and money on the table if they're not really aggressively going after YouTube and Reddit and other platforms. And honestly, it's putting paid dollars behind it. Organic is dying. Paid on every platform now, whether it's your LinkedIn post or X or YouTube, whether you're an individual or a company, they're putting huge dollars behind the organic content, like rocket fuel, to kind of get it out of the atmosphere and get it seen. So a lot of posts now, I put some amount of paid behind them. And, it's not making it all about yourself. I mean, too many brands are focused on, their speeds and feeds and 3 and 4 letter acronyms. Anything that is educational and is story based about, a story, an individual or team that overcame the odds or did something new and innovative or invented something, or that's what people want to learn from, be educated by. And, people in B2B, they want to share stuff that makes them look smart or compelling. So it just can't be more marketing speak, talking amongst yourselves. Talk to customers, talk to partners, talk to people, influencers like myself, talk to end users. You guys do that in solutions review all the time. So it's more peer to peer kind of community, human to human, but really tying it into a larger community or an event is really important. I'm off to Mobile World Congress. I'm off to HIMSS, the big healthcare IT event. I'll be at RSA in San Francisco. So tying your content and messaging before, during, after big events is also key to tap into the zeitgeist and the buzz, and tying news of the day into a point of view. I think brands are expected to have a point of view. It doesn't necessarily mean political, but having a point of view, being a little edgy, even fun, not too often said about tech brands is, have fun, but I think it can be done. And you're seeing more of it, more virality and even what has traditionally been boring kind of content.
It's interesting. I think the phenomenon that we were concerned with at Solutions Review when we first saw ChatGPT was generative written words on screen. Was that we, as effectively a publisher of words on screen, were done. I remember having a meeting, the existential crisis meeting internally, that said, "I think we're done. I don't think we can. I don't think we can survive this thing that just landed in our laps. It does everything. Like, somebody can use it to basically recreate whatever we generated up until that point, 20,000 individual handwritten posts, articles, whatever it was. I mean, we had so much index content that we had handcrafted. And now I looked at this thing and I thought, well, somebody properly motivated can use that to replicate everything we've done
Wow.
instantaneously. I mean, in a month, they could create as much content as we created in 10 years. And so I said to our team, I think we need to get, we need to expand our horizons a little bit and get into more into video, and we leaned into getting into video for sure. Um, and because it was my belief that basically Google would no longer be able to function the way it had traditionally functioned, which was index the world's content. Because now the world was going to produce content in overwhelming volume that it won't be able to ingest and index, because and it'll all be perfect because it'll all be generated. It won't be able to handle what's coming, and it won't be able to all of a sudden pick winners and losers by, organic page one, because everything will be worthy of organic page one. So how does it do it? And so we thought, well, we're dead. We're just going to get blown off page one. And it turns out, and I don't think they talk about this, it turns out, at least in my opinion, because our site traffic, rather than going down, has been going up, and our
Right.
authority has been going up. And we haven't really been posting a lot more than we typically do. And I think what happened is Google said, you know what, we have to give up this indexing game. So we're just going to grandfather in the people that we knew before generative AI. Again, I don't
Right.
think they tell you this. And we're just going to move to these AI generated answers, because we can't we can't keep playing the same game. We don't have the bandwidth or the server volume to handle all of this content being created. I mean, what's your take?
Yeah, no, I think that's an amazing anecdote, amazing stories, and that's happening to millions of people, businesses, as they rethink their strategy. I think it'll be a net positive, but there'll be winners and losers every time Google does something different. There are winners, losers, startups break, new startups enter the
Well,
market.
how about all these companies in the SEO game? I mean, that industry is literally getting obliterated instantly. I mean, the minute they started generating AI answers, I mean, how do you sell an SEO? If you're an SEO agency, how do you sell that service when
Yeah,
SEO is no longer a thing? Instantly.
yeah, and I think it's forced everyone to shift their attention to human conversations like this one, being an authority, showing up in an authoritative, credible way at events, creating YouTube content, which clearly gets Google's attention, and leveraging a conversation like this to create content from it. You know, blogs and posts and tweets and short form video for reels and TikToks and shorts from this conversation. Um, because the LMs love real conversations, they love transcripts, right? So this will generate a ton of material that will help both of our online presence, and then you do this times 1,000 and you really begin to move the needle. So I think it's like the best of times, the worst of times. Everyone's having to adapt, and it doesn't replace the in-person, in-person aspect. Events are back in a huge way. I was at CES. The numbers are back, the attendance are back, because we talked about human conversations and how, that's more important than ever post-COVID. But I think you can combine the AI technology with human conversations to really make an impact, and to take those conversations to generate, clips and shorts and transcripts from those conversations, and turn them into real insights on social media that stand out beyond, the AI slop that we're seeing generated,
Well, so
at scale.
where do you think it's going? So, obviously we've seen, the words on screens starting to change, and I think while we were all trained to use Google and to get our 10 results that we would, if we're looking for a mountain bike or a camera or something, we would get the 10 results that we would be presented from Google. And then we would kind of be the LLM ourselves, right? We'd read the 10 articles and then we'd synthesize in our own mind what we thought our best decision would be based upon those results that we were presented. And now I think, what Google does is a little more superhuman, right? It probably takes 100 results and synthesizes what it considers to be the prevailing wisdom of what's the best mountain bike for me or what the best camera is given my requirements, and it presents me now with the answer, so I don't have to do the work anymore. Do you think we're going to be trained similarly to be kind of lulled into this? Well, that's it. That's the answer. And so what AI feeds us, the generative answer that we're fed, will be cool with?
No, I think we're far more curious than that. I mean, there will be a lot of that, but there's a big trend towards communities, and how the community ranks and votes and decides is also going to be a big factor. You've seen, like in our space, people like Trustpilot or G2 Crowd or another community, Clutch, that I'm part of, really important. And those crowdsourced rankings, upvotes, the reviews and ratings that come from real people and some bots, but a lot of real people, is pure gold, not just for the people participating in the community, but by the AIs and LLMs that are looking at that. No secret, Reddit is a big contributor to the AI models because of the upvoting and downvoting concept. I mean, there are great communities, and I think, a lot of great content gets surfaced by humans upvoting interesting, great posts, pictures, stories, and the AI recognizes that. So participating communities like yours, like Reddit, like even on X and Twitter, on LinkedIn, there's some great communities. Participating in those will be really important, both the online ones and offline ones, um, and getting seen and heard at those within those communities. Some are private, Slack kind of communities. Others are, Facebook groups that some are fantastic. They're 1 or 2 million strong on different topics, and they can really validate, your content and get noticed by the bots that we're looking for to get noticed by.
Speaking of bots, I mean, there's obviously this whole agentic AI swarm that's going to be coming. I don't think it's arrived just yet, but it certainly is starting to get some traction. Do you see a future where basically there are more agents out there kind of doing these things, upvoting, participating, being involved in the kind of influence of things versus just kind of the end users and actual human beings?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's going to be a lot of negative connotations for that and positive ones. I think in a positive sense, I have a bot. Sorry, just losing my voice here.
Yeah, that's
I have
okay.
a bot that goes out and comments on a LinkedIn posts from my clients or community, and I can do it autonomously because it's trained on sort of my style and some of my. But I don't have, hours a day to comment on LinkedIn posts. I mean, who does? It's kind of tedious. But this will go out there and do that. I have other bots that'll do some biz dev stuff for me, tied into my Gmail. Lightweight, nothing earth shattering, nothing illegal, nothing that would put me in a business in jeopardy. But
No,
I,
no,
I
I mean,
think
I
I
mean,
think
I
these
think
are tools, tools
exactly.
to frankly, it's not replace what we do, just take away tasks that are necessary but really low value at the end of the day. And I think more and more of these bots will do more and more work on our behalf.
And do you see this starting to have an impact on, what would potentially be a low level entry level job, right? So rather than having to hire an intern or an administrative assistant who could potentially do the things that you just described, right? Go out and kind of use my account to, I mean, you know,
Yeah, I
comment
mean,
on
yes
here
and
and there.
no. I mean, I have an actually full-time executive assistant. It's a joy. She's a great. A couple years ago, she was doing pretty routine, mundane things, but now she's capable of doing more with some of the AI tools and for editing and other things that she wouldn't consider her doing just as an admin. Oh, it's the jobs are changing too. I mean, secretaries, we used to call secretaries, condescending way, but would, be typing. Of course, what a secretary, quote unquote, or an executive assistant does now is much more high value work. often than from travel planning to logistics and coordination and events, and not just, creating, email invites and answering calls, right? So the jobs, the definitions are there, called an intern or a secretary, but the tasks are fundamentally different and will be over time. So you could have an executive assistant in a couple years that does, coding
Well,
because,
so
she needs to help build something for some unique scenario. And with, no code tools can put something together just for that one-off event. So yeah, she's still the executive assistant. So I guess my point is, the jobs will change, the task will change, I think, more than the jobs.
so you don't see this as being a job killer, the what's coming.
No, I'm in the Mark Andreessen camp. I would say they'll be disruptive. There'll be a lot of losers, but there'll be
What does
more
that mean
winners.
when you
What
say
means what
disruptive?
happened in farming when 95% of farm jobs were over the century were disrupted. Now
And
we
so
can't find
what
people.
did they do?
They moved to cities. They found additional jobs, other jobs. They went to school. They electrified, and I mean, there's 100 things they did, but over time, more and more uh, farm jobs shifted out, and 90% of farm jobs no longer exist that did a century ago. Equally, manufacturing, and there were, again, we saw in the last election, right? I mean, whole sections of the community, states, the Rust Belt were really hard hit by the manufacturing changes and automation, robotics in some cases. And for those people, it's really painful, but the overall economy has grown, orders of magnitude since then. So there'll be winners and losers, but I think for humanity, it will be an overall positive.
I struggle with this because I think Mark Andreessen and some of those tech titans
Bros, yeah.
are 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 saying the thing that people need to hear, that this isn't going to wipe out everybody, that this isn't going to replace everybody, because they can't say that out loud, obviously. But where do they get I mean, the idea the idea is to there's only so much value in the economy. I mean, they have to the way that in my mind anyway, the way that OpenAI makes money is by replacing human beings. I mean, it I think it's trying to right now in the consulting business with these APIs that they're building, where they're going into large companies and they're creating a kind of almost a small language model within that company that's very closed, and but layering in all the other things that it has ingested and can synthesize. But the idea is to take the budget that is being spent by those large companies on large consulting agreements with large consulting companies. They want to take that budget. That's the game. That they're fighting for is budget. They're trying to take budget from these very large people-based businesses. And I could see that happening in education, in healthcare, in the legal profession, in accounting. I mean, all these things are relatively easily automated. I can't see this not having a massive impact on what would always have been considered to be the protective layer, the white collar, the people who work in front of screens, the people who work with a mouse in their hand rather than a wrench. Those are
And
the
I think I was with you maybe a couple of years ago, but the more I begin to think and listen, and again, I might be influenced by the tech bros as an aspiring tech bro. So one hand, you have productivity. I'm not an economist, but if you look at the economists, what they say, I mean, productivity has been largely flat since the 70s, despite all the amazing tech, the mobile revolution, and the internet. Actually, human productivity across the board, right, has been flat. I think we can agree that productivity at the turn of the century for decades was like 200% higher than it is now, and this goes back to the railroad and the changes in the agricultural sector and the rise of factories and automation in factories. So we had at that time productivity in the U.S. was twice as high, at least, than it is now, and there's been a decline in And it was even higher in the 50s and 60s, 40s, 50s, 60s, believe it or not, as we had all these incredible inventions come on board. But productivity across the economy has not changed very much. Secondly, we're seeing a flattening population. We're sort of reached peak humans, talking about human conversations. Certainly, most countries have declining birth rates, declining populations. Countries like ours, even declining immigration. So we can't get enough of those people, the humans, to do the jobs. So when you combine those two factors, I think what many are advocating, and I think it's to be seen, is this is going to be a productivity boom, and boon in ways we can only imagine. If we get 3 times as productive as an economy, again, macro stuff, right? We're gonna see a boom like never before. I mean, even if you talk about just the economics of AI, there's
Oh
a lot
no,
of economic.
I get how companies are going to become highly profitable by eliminating. This is I get it. They're going to eliminate the employees in exchange for digital workers that
Many
never
will, many will, yeah.
that are going to be way more efficient, way more productive, and way cheaper. I get that. I get how the economy is going to become much more beneficial for the corporate, but capitalism, that's the problem. Believe me, I'm far from like a bleeding heart liberal, but I look at capitalism as an insatiable, and it's going to be it's not going to care. It's going to be the Terminator. It's not going to care about your feelings. It won't show pity. Whatever that speech was that Arnold Schwarzenegger had, it's
And
going
yet,
to be easy for them
despite that,
to replace all these people.
we've hit a peak, right? I mean, LLM's progress has stalled. There's been a lot of just talks about that. We're not, each model, we're not getting 50% better. We're getting 5% better. So whatever breakthrough has to come, it's
Do we? I mean, do we believe that? Do you
oh
believe
yeah,
that?
I think so. I mean, you think about, we went from GPT-3 to 3, 4, 4 to 4 to 5 to 5.1 to 5.2.
So you don't think we're going to get to AGI or anytime soon?
If it's not clear that LLMs are going to replace anyone's brain in the near term. I mean, they're going to replace that's part of the brain that's good at writing and putting pen to paper and doing certain things auditory, visually wise. It's not clear that AI is going to replace the thinking and the constructing and the doing and the knowing and the learning side. At the same time,
I
again, our
mean,
jobs are going to
has that
change
been your
completely.
experience? And I mean, in working with, generative AI as you have and as I have, is that your sense that it's not going to be able to extend itself beyond? Because what it's doing right now is shockingly impressive. It's more
Oh yeah,
impressive. I mean,
and
and you don't,
let's.
and it's built on a neural network. I mean, it's designed to replace human thinking. And I think I mean, this is my problem, is that I think we're overvaluing our ability. I think we're just the most advanced mammal on the planet, and that's it. That
Yeah, and
we're
I
not
don't
that
think what LMs
special.
do is thinking. I mean, if you look at the all the excitement around the sentience of LLMs, I mean, someone who knows, and that's not me, but mathematicians and real AI, deep AI tech guys and gals, LLMs are very, very, very sophisticated math boxes running on supercharged hardware. They are not thinking, they are not knowing, they are not sentient. And although we don't understand exactly how they work because of the math complexity, we know what it's not doing. And it's certainly not thinking and rationalizing and doing the million things that our brain does. So although I agree, the impact's going to be tremendous on the upside and the downside. And just, I just like to think about anecdotes. I mean, you look at radiologists, there's this prediction, oh, radiology is going to go away. It's kind of a subset of the doctor will disappear, right? You're not going to need doctors. And radiology is the one place where AI has really taken hold because, these radiologists, they just look at images all day, one after the next. I mean, it's just, on one hand, it's an incredibly important role. On the other, it's kind of mind numbing to think of, staring at these x-rays all day. There's a need for more radiologists than ever. Why is that? Because we're having more scans than ever. We have low-cost body scans. We have MRIs for the masses. There are neighborhood places you can go and get a full body scan. There's all kinds of low-cost devices that almost run on your smartphone, so you can scan stuff from the field. So there's more scans being generated, more requirements, an aging society. And despite throwing all this AI out there, we can't find the next enough radiologists. We can't train them. And as we all get older, we're
I
going to need
understand
many
where
more.
we are. I understand where we are. I'm trying to project out. I mean, I just look at Mark Andreessen's company. I mean, he's a VC. He's invested billions of dollars, and he's just one VC who's invested billions of dollars. There's hundreds of billions of dollars that have been invested in these AI companies that a lot of whom we've never heard of, or most people have never heard of. And those companies are invested in to go generate a return on that investment, and that return on investment comes from revenue, and that revenue has to come somewhere.
Yeah, and guess what
So
ChatGPT is
it's
doing
like
is there.
I've got a AI solution that can replace all radiologists. I mean, that's a business, and so I'm sure there probably is an investment in a company that's
Sure.
designed to
And what
replace
is ChatGPT
radiologists.
doing? They're adding ads. That's their latest revenue move. So companies like ChatGPT will suck every dollar out of the ecosystem they can find. They'll screw their partners. They'll do whatever big tech capitalist things they need to do to make their revenue. I guess my point with that example, and I could give you many others, is if you project the need for training doctors, finding doctors, the limited supply of humans to go into med school, the limits of our medical system to produce doctors and radiologists. I mean, the need for those skills is going to stretch the ability of the system to create those humans. We're going to need new ways. I mean, there'll be
Do you need will
a
we need it? I mean, I don't know. Do you need a doctor? I mean, or do you just need somebody who
well, 2
can?
billion, 2 billion people around the world don't have a doctor. They don't have access to a doctor, and they never will. So
Well,
it's
but wouldn't they though now? Because ultimately, you get a digital doctor that knows that doesn't have any human frailties. It knows everything, and it has synthesized every diagnosis it has ever ingested perfectly, and now can be similar to radiologists, because all it did to train radiologists better, to train this AI radiologist better, is just to look at everything that the radiologists have looked at, and now it can do it better,
correct.
which is a good trick. So why do we need? This is
And
where I
I've
play
been
it
to
out.
I've
It's
been to
like, do you?
RSNA.
This
I
might
think
be the
the big
greatest thing. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I've been to RSNA, the biggest radiology show, and I can tell you the radiologists, the nurses, the doctors, they're completely stressed out. They're overworked. They're
I get it.
losing. Yeah.
I get where we are now. I do. I get that. I get the current state of everything. But what I'm trying to do is project out what happens when you can extend this. I mean, honestly, the good news is for those 2 billion people who don't have doctors, is they will now have access to a low cost, highly competent digital doctor that can now, I would assume that we'll be able to extend out some sort of diagnostic medical care through that AI enabled physician, which is great. But by the same token, do you need a doctor? I mean, a doctor comes with all of the human frailties of a doctor, right? They may not be having a good day, or they may be getting a little older, or they may just not have done very well in medical school, but they got through, and now they're a doctor. And, I mean, we've all seen it, right? You talking about, how there's upvotes and downvotes. There are grades for doctors, and in their websites that'll give you grades for doctors. I mean, there is a range of doctor competence, but this could eliminate all that. I mean, what makes a doctor? What makes a doctor? It's just the knowledge. It's just knowledge, right?
Well, it's knowledge and certifications, qualifications that are certified by the various
Correct.
authorities. And, my concern is we're going to need AI. We're going to need AI doctors because, at least here in Massachusetts, you can't get an appointment with a doctor. You can't find a primary care physician. Physicians are leaving the practice of primary care. You are lucky if you have a doctor, and we're in the most doctored up, educated state in the country. And something has to give, whether it's training, whether it's the entrance of in the future of AI doctors, whether
Why
it's
is that?
doctors.
Why can't we get doctors? Do you
We'll talk
is
to a
there a reason?
primary care doctor. He'll tell you the myriad of reasons. The money in primary care is lower. There's disincentives to go into primary care from the specialty care, and they're overwhelmed by patients. Um, the economics increasingly don't work, which are based on per visits to the doctor. And what you want is a coach and a mentor and someone to sort of triage issues. There are a myriad of reasons, but the trends are all going in this one direction. So we need AI to help us empower ourselves as patients, to help give superpowers to those doctors who that can then maybe have some quality of life because they are. I mean, my doctor for now, it's recording ambiently all of the conversations. All he's doing is talking, looking at me one on one. That information is then indexed and put into the EMR. He's not sitting there typing, looking at a screen, talking to you. She can see more patients. You can get more done. Less mistakes are made. Less mistakes are made writing prescriptions by hand. I mean, this is the next phase of digitization in healthcare. But back to the reasons, I mean, it's that and so much more so that they can have a balance. I mean, most primary care doctors have a terrible quality of life. There's a lot of stress, and nurses, and overwork, and medical mistakes that are tragic because they're worked too hard. So that's an example I see in the short term, AI coming to the rescue. Whether it eliminates the profession, as Musk is saying, you won't need a medical license. Well, that's too far ahead in the future for me. But if you look at a 5-year cycle, and I can speak, I put my medical records into the chat GPT, I get reviews, and I get incredibly helpful feedback as a patient. I'm sure many folks do as well. In the short term, 1, 3, 5 years, I think there's just upside, and we'll see what's next as it happens.
I'm fascinated by the as I play it out in my mind, how easy it will be. The I think about basically we've been living in this kind of universal collusion that, if you want to, stay out of harm's way with regard to your business finances, you get an accountant because the accountant is trained to keep you out of harm's way by knowing all the code and all the tax rules and so forth. And if you want a entry-level job, you need to get the diploma from this university and pay them for this knowledge that they have that proves that you can now do this entry-level job. And it's and again, it's a collusion that has existed for forever. That, if you want medical care, you need to go to this person who's gone and gotten certified and has the knowledge that you don't have and nobody else has proven they have. And so ultimately, all that needs to happen is you create a digital entity that can effectively replace, because now we have that. We have this digital entity, this large language model that has exactly what that collusion represented: knowledge that you can't get, knowledge that you'll never have, knowledge that you haven't gone and trained for. Now you have at your fingertips. Like you said, you can put your medical records into ChatGPT and it'll give you an opinion based upon a very large language model of information that it knows in perfect fidelity. It hasn't forgotten a thing. It can access everything. And that feels like better than the current human structure that we have right now. Or at least it feels like that to me, and that will be easily replaced by that.
Well, I think it's amazing empowering patients. They always used to say, get a second opinion. Most people
Right.
never even got a second
Right.
opinion. I think
Why
AI
did
is
we why
now.
did why was that why was that advice? I mean, when you think about it, it's like, don't trust this person, get a second opinion because you don't know necessarily whether this person's even right. Like, think about that, like, universal piece of advice.
And then now, maybe there'll be the ultimate second opinion. It is for me. I run everything through. Even when I prepare to go to the doctor, I run through some scenarios and questions I might have, so I'm more educated. And if you don't think the doctor is also getting a second opinion from ChatGPT or the equivalents, you're also deluding yourself because they're humans and they want to learn and get information from other sources. So I just see this as a virtuous circle
Well, but isn't that the
until
beginning
it
of the
isn't.
end? I mean, it kinda like the AI answer in Google now. I Isn't this the beginning of the end? Once the doctor is getting the ChatGPT second opinion, once we can all access an LLM to double check our doctor, isn't that the beginning of the end? Why even have the doctor? Why even have search? If the answer is already presented, why do I care what it source to get it? I believe it now. It's credible enough to me. I mean, isn't that the beginning of the end of all these professions is once they start using this technology to double check their own work?
And this could be, that's one scenario. The scenario I'm more excited about is, every doctor you go to will be one of the best doctors. Every specialist will have the tools and the access to make them the best doctors. I have a surgeon friend who's an intensive care trauma surgeon up in Portsmouth, and he's thrilled about robotic surgery, and he's thrilled with AI working on it because he can only work 80 or 90 hours a week. He's in intensive trauma. They need help. They need coverage. They need capacity to treat more patients. Maybe he could double the amount of surgeries by overseeing robots that do the hard work. Maybe he could treat someone over connectivity, low latency connectivity remotely to a place maybe up in the woods up in New Hampshire he couldn't get to. So again, there's many scenarios. It's gonna be fun to watch it unfold.
Oh, no, it's gonna be fascinating. I can't, I'm kind of happy to not be too young because I remember, being a young web developer, back in the '90s, and people were telling me, nobody's ever gonna buy anything through these computers. You're crazy to think that, this idea of me putting a credit card in a computer is gonna be scalable. I'm never gonna do that, and, I used to have a can of Spam on my desk. I think I actually still have it somewhere, because I worked for an email marketing company, and we all had cans of Spam on our desk as a reminder that we were just spammers. Because
Email marketing
we
still
worked
there,
for
still
a
happening.
commercial email marketing because people were like, "I'm never gonna ever respond to an email marketing offer, that has any commercial,
Well, that's another
overtone."
example, like, not quite an analogy, but, people have been predicting the death of email marketing for decades. People talked about 50% open rates at the beginning of email. You're excited, you got mail, you got something like a letter you opened. And of course, people have been saying email will die and is dead. It's as live as ever. It's just very different rules, different dynamics, different approaches. And I think that'll be true with all these technologies. I mean, look, we have fax machines in hospitals. Who'd have thought 35 years ago we'd still have fax machines? So these industries, highly regulated, highly resistant to change, no matter how cool the technology is, the impact is going to be seen over decades, I think, not quarters or even years.
Well, so how do people catch up with you, and stay in touch with,
Yeah, just
all the
Google
things you're
search
doing?
me or, LinkedIn's the best place from a B2B standpoint. Let's connect. I always looking for collaborators and clients. And hopefully if people are at Mobile World Congress or RSAC or HIMSS, the big healthcare event, I'll be there in person. Would be great to meet for coffee.
Outstanding. Well, this has been a great conversation, Evan. I appreciate it
Yeah,
very much.
little edgy. Yeah, I like that. A little fun, a little different.
I can't help it. I this whole thing bothers me so much that I end up bothering everybody else. So I apologize.
And I've no, no, not at all. I've changed. I was more of your position, but the more I see these tools, I do see so many limitations, and I see, gosh, it's going to be a long road before we see this Valhalla, this chosen land that everyone's describing. So
Well, yeah, I mean, it's coming in some speed or another. It's just like, the old days at the internet when that landed, it's coming, and it's kind of like everything, it's going to change how we behave, how we interact, and how we potentially even survive economically. So it's going to be interesting. Well, best of luck for the rest of the year. Good to have you on, and thanks again for all that you've been doing with us.
Thank you. Great to be part of it.